Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. It's September 26th, just and no more, because it's actually September 27th here in Gorebridge in Scotland. So I hope everybody is doing well and has had a good week. Been a busy one here. Lots doing. Excuse me. I was trying to straighten up my chair. Lots doing here. Kind of going through all the bits and pieces that still need kind of fixed by our developers who built this house. It's just the thing with new builds. There's always what they call snagging. And so we're kind of going through those at the moment and just kind of getting those taken care of. And so that's kind of been the nature of the week, really, is having lots of those kind of people around. But it's been a good week nonetheless. Sorry, I was just distracted there a little bit by the chat. I'm going to get into the chat in just a minute. But suffice it to say, I've got a couple of interesting things that I've been asked just today, actually, over on Facebook. So I want to get into those and do a little bit of a kind of demonstration, which should be fun, of how you can use Studio One to kind of work in compound times or triplet meters, those kind of things. So we're going to do a little bit of a minor blues thing. We're just going to throw it together. I've got a drum loop and we're just going to throw a little bit of an E minor blues together just for fun with maybe one or two substitution chords because I like those kind of things. So and that's because there was a guy on the Persona Studio One Facebook group who was asking this question because he wants to do a blues. And he wants to know how he can quantize, not that I recommend quantizing when it comes to blues, unless your timing is really, out, in which case, fair enough, quantize it, go shift it about. But for the most part, you don't want to quantize a blues particularly. You want to allow it to have its natural ebb and flow. But yeah, if your timing is a little out enough that it doesn't swing anymore, then yeah, by all means, move things about, shift things about. A little bit of quantizing won't hurt in those circumstances. Just don't overdo it. Otherwise, it really won't swing anymore. It'll just sound like some kind of, march, and you don't want that. So yeah, so we're going to do a little bit of an E minor blues. There's a little bit of a new look to how I show my Studio on screen as well. Which I've been tinkering with, just to kind of make, when I'm doing those kind of demos, just make it a little bit more personal. So you still get to see this ugly muggins, rather than just hearing my, kind of disassociated voice behind the Studio One screen, which I've done that for years and never really thought very much of it. And now I'm kind of thinking, you know what, maybe it is a little bit abstract that you hear my voice, but you never see me. So for those of you that want to see me, you now can. For those of you that don't, look away. That's all I'll say. All right, let's go see who's here. And I think one of my good friends, Tony Stringer, is here first. He says, sorry, not tonight. I have an early radio show tomorrow. Have fun. Tony, take care, and I hope you are able to catch this on the replay, because I think you might find what we talk about useful this evening. Rich Cresswell is here. He is one of my newer moderators, so be nice to him. Ken Moss is here, another one of my mods. Thomas over in the Philippines. John Hawk is here. Mike over at Music to Motion is here. Kyle Drajusiak. John Lake, you guys are all here. And we have Ironweed Studios and Mika Han and Don Oliver and Louis over at Alps Media and Kevin from Kevin's Guitar Stories is here as well. Billy Morgan is here. Good grief, we've got quite a lot of people here tonight. It's awesome. I love it. Bobby Booth is here as well, so we can kind of get started now that he's here. Because I don't think Bobby has ever missed a show, which is pretty awesome. Because I worked out that I think we have done more than 200 of these, but I could be wrong. I actually need to go back and actually do a proper count of not just the ones that are in this Sunday Night Live playlist, but some of the earlier streams as well, and add them all up and see what we have. So, but I think we've done more than 200 of these. It'd be interesting to see what show number we're up to. So for any of you folks that are nerdy enough to want to go find that out, then by all means go ahead and let me know. But otherwise I will take it upon myself, because nobody should really have to think about those kind of things. Yep, Mika, I know Rich quite well. He's a good lad. He's a good lad, and he's a fellow Brit, and Brits are cool as far as I'm concerned. So, let's see. Billy shouts at the top of his lungs. Hit the thumbs up, friends. Absolutely. Oh, Bobby says, missed last week. My modem went down. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, you were conspicuously absent last week. That's right. I remember. Okay, so I am going to get to your questions like I normally do, but I'm going to start off with this demo. I don't know if he's even here. I did invite him to the show. Oh, I forgot to say that David Anthony is here as well. Sorry, David, missed you off. But yeah, I did invite him to the show and said that I'd cover this in detail so he gets to see kind of how it works. John, I actually stood up last week and everybody got to see my impressive other end cleavage, shall we say. That was on Wednesday. I did that on Jonny's show. Anyway, I'm not going to repeat that because really that's it. I'm surprised that YouTube have not pulled that show because of the explicit nature of what was revealed, and I'm sure nobody needs to see that. So so yeah, let's get into this little demo, and I'm going to chuck together a little bit of an E minor blues and kind of see where that goes, and you'll get to see, if you've not worked with kind of triplet meters or compound times, you'll get to see how that works a little bit, especially in a blues context, how that works in Studio One. And you know, really, if you're working in blues that has that kind of triplet feel to it rather than the shuffle feel to it, then really don't worry about setting it into 12/8 or 6/8. You really don't need to, unless it's a really slow down home kind of 50s blues ballad, in which case that is a different kettle of fish. That's a different thing altogether, and I can cover that in a separate video. I'm cool with that. But yeah, if you're doing something that just kind of has is a bit more of a kind of Chicago blues kind of thing, then you just keep it in 4/4 and you set the grid to eighth note triplets, which I have not done. So let's go and take a look at this song. So hang on just a minute. I'm over on the wrong song. Here we go. Alrighty, so now I'm on the right song. So over we go, and there, see, you can see my happy smiling face at the bottom of the screen there. David says he's easy to miss. No, I just missed you off by mistake. I normally catch your name, I think. But anyway, so all I have here is a drum loop, which sounds just like this. Pretty straightforward, kind of Chicago blues orientated shuffle thing, but you'll notice that it has a bit more of a, there's a much more of a kind of a triplet thing going on rather than the I mean, there's kind of both going on, but there's definitely an implied kind of 12/8 kind of triplet thing going on. But rather than going and setting the metronome to 12/8 and having it going, will be incredibly annoying and will not help your playing whatsoever. Leave it in 4/4 and set the quantized grid up here to 8th note triplet. Just click this drop down thing here, click that to 8th note triplet, and then when you zoom in on the bars, you can see that each beat is now divided into 3. So here's bar 11, 11 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 12 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it would go on. Once you've got that set up, then it makes doing everything else a lot easier, particularly if you do have to do a little bit of quantizing either of the audio or of the MIDI, just to kind of tidy things up. Not that I'm saying that you should just go crazy and quantize everything to 100%, but, you know, kind of just going and grabbing just the howlers is what I like to call it. So we're not going to do that. Music to Motion says 6/8 timing on that beat. No, this is in 4/4. As you can see down here, we got 4/4. We got a tempo of 105. If I put the metronome on, the metronome is clicking on 4 beats in the bar. So this is not in 6/8, even though it has that triplet feel to it. But it is swung. Yes, it is absolutely swung. As you'll find out as I get playing this, because it's a blues, man. So let's turn that off. Let's turn that on. And let's make sure that that is set to the right input, which it isn't. There we go. So now it should be set to the keyboard, which it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to improvise kind of a 16-bar blues rather than a 12-bar blues. I prefer 16 bars. I don't know why, but I just do. So here we go. I'm going to set this up so it gives me a little kind of count in of the pre-count for 2 bars. And that'll be perfect. All right. So let's make sure that's set at the beginning. And we've got reasonable level coming out of the keyboard, which is cool. All right. Here we go. There we go. That will do nicely. I kind of messed up on the A minor chord a bit, but that's okay. We'll leave that for now. And we'll stick in a bass part, which will... There we go. There we go. Perfecto. Well, more or less perfecto. There was some slightly loose timing, which is fine because that's kind of what this demonstration is going to be all about. So let's go in here, and yes, it's a little bit on the loose side. We want to set this to 8th note triplets. And just for the sake of it, just for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all. And I'm going to hit Q. And it'll sound a little bit tight for now, but it's okay. Yeah, see right there we got a little bit of a mistake, so let's get that one away. Yeah, that one is too soon. Right, oh, all of this has gone a little bit funky, so let's grab all of those. And we'll shift those along that way. In fact, everything's gone a little bit crazy. Oh, come on. My mouse is not that great. Let's see, where did it go wrong? And we'll shift these as well. I think it's just those that are in the wrong place. There we go. All right, I think we got that. I think we have it. So we've got a note missing now. I can see that. There we go. Now we just reduce the velocity of that so it doesn't stick out like a country mile. There we go. I missed one, didn't I? On this C chord here. Oh, it's alright. Yeah, I think maybe the keyboard part could do with being done again because it's a little bit sloppy in places, to be honest. But I think you kind of get the general idea with this, and I can extend this out a little bit more from kind of seeing what I was doing with this, with editing this bass part to make sure that it was a little bit more in time than it was, because it was a little bit sloppy. Part of the reason why it was a little bit sloppy, I know I sound like I'm making excuses, but in order to stop the speakers from being picked up by the mic, I have to have the volume of the speakers quite low so that I can work without headphones. I like to do my show without headphones. And the reason why is because what I found out with doing my show with headphones for so long was that I tend to speak a lot louder, and that would wake my kids up, and that was not good. So I decided that I would just do my show without headphones and just have the speakers low enough that they're not going to be picked up by the mic. That means when I'm kind of playing over here and recording, I have to kind of listen that a little bit extra carefully. So I hope that that kind of explains that aspect of it. But yeah, I think you get the idea that you can kind of set things in the quantized grid here to 8th note triplet and have this just in 4/4 and not worry about working something out with kind of 6/8 or something like that, because you just don't need to. However, if you're doing a much slower thing than this, and we can certainly open a new song. And this is set to 3/4, but let's say we set this to 6/8, 6/8 maybe, or even 12/8. Doesn't really matter which. And I'm going to open up we'll call this piano, because I'm going to switch over to the piano just now. And that should be on input right, because that's where the piano is plugged in. Well, let's say what I want to do. I got that set up how I want. Yeah, pre-count. Let's see. Why is that grayed out? Why is that grayed out? Click in play, because it should be recording as well. I don't know. Anyway. Not going to worry about it too terribly much. Maybe it's because that wasn't actually turned on. There we go. All right, cool. So that's all set up how I want it. But let's say I want to do something that's a little bit more kind of 1950s blues ballad-esque. Well, I can do that in 6/8. And as you can see, the grid now is in 6, because you've got 6 beats in each bar. So these are 8th notes, and the tempo will be according to that. So listen to the click. Well, that's a little too fast, so let's slow this down a little bit. Let's try this. Yeah, that might not be too bad. So yeah, we can do something kind of a little bit more 50s blues ballad with this kind of 6/8 thing. I don't think I've got a drum beat, but I'm going to find one. Let's see. Files. I'm sure I've got something that will work. Let's try this one. Yeah, these are kind of still the shuffly kind of things. Let's see. Yeah, maybe that's all I've got. I could have sworn I had something that wasn't. Yeah, I don't want any of those. Let's try Blues Volume 2. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Yeah, that's not really doing it either. Could have sworn I had something a little bit more kind of 6/80, 12/8 kind of blues ballad going on here, but it doesn't look like I do. I thought I did. Let's see. Let's see if we got anything in jazz. No, not really. These I think might be straight. Yeah, those are straight. We don't want those. Let's see what we got here. 15, 7, 8. Nope. Yeah, not really finding what I'm after. I don't know why. That would have been a good little kind of 50s blues ballad kind of loop. Or maybe something like this might do it. Bit of brushes. Why not? Why not indeed? Bit of brushes. Except I don't think that's going to fit. No, it's not going to fit. Okay. Let's not worry about this then. Let's just remove that altogether. There we go. And we just go back to this. It's fine. Alright, so I'm not really finding the kind of drum pattern that I'm after, but that's alright. I can always make one. Alright, so in fact, why don't I do that instead? Why don't I do that instead? Why don't I go and grab impact and go down to where is it? Here we go. Tom Brecklin drums. And we'll turn that off for a minute. Mika says, I've forgotten what we're doing here. We're demonstrating compound times in Studio One because not everybody knows how to do this. So that's kind of what we're doing. Okay. Yeah, that'll do. We'll just select everything. And we'll select 8th notes. There we go. All right. So we've got ourselves a little drum beat, which I'm going to crank just a little bit because I can't really hear it. All right, so we have some nice little drum loop going on there. And we just duplicate that a couple of times. There we go. Now we'll go back up to the piano and we'll do a little bit of piano. There we go. Very, very kind of improvised. But I think you guys get the idea. How you can do different kind of blues styles using either straight ahead 4/4 with the grid set to 8th note triplets, or doing something much slower where you would be in a compound time like 6/8 or 12/8 or something like that. In this case, we're in 6/8. You can absolutely make very, very cool blues music using Studio One in this way. So that was to basically answer a question that was asked on Facebook. And I did invite the guy who asked the question here, but I don't think he made it, which is a shame. Anyway, so I hope that is useful to more than just him. For those of you that don't know how to do that, then hopefully that was helpful for you guys. So let's go over to here and take your questions. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Because if we don't, that'll be the end of the show. Mika says, judicious note, drum instrument selection within a MIDI event is key to getting triplet and swing feel. Selecting all is not how I do it, usually. Selecting all, I'm not quite sure what you mean there. If you're referring to quantizing, like I said before, I don't normally quantize. In this case, my timing was ludicrously out a little bit. Like I said, because I have the speakers low so that I don't have to use headphones. So yeah, I was a little bit behind the beat, and I took a look at the MIDI notes and realized that really I could sit here for the next 40 minutes and just kind of, move manually the worst offenders, which is what I normally do, but you guys would get very bored and would lose interest very quickly. So rather than do that, I thought I will just very quickly just select all and quantize the whole lot, and it will be tidy very quickly and easily that way, rather than you guys having to sit there watch me kind of drag each of the worst offending notes. And then, because that's what I normally do, I don't actually just kind of like hit the Q key to quantize everything. That's not how I work. But that was more to save time so that you guys don't have to sit watching me. Oh, he said he may rewatch. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully you are now watching the replay, and hopefully that was helpful to you. If it was, or if it wasn't, and you've got further questions, then please do visit this website down below, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, and shoot me an email, johnny@jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, and we can talk about it. Likewise, to everybody else here, if you have a question that, like that particular question could be done in a demonstration and could devote a whole show to it. If you've got that kind of a question, much kind of larger, broad question, then definitely drop me an email as well, and your question will be featured in the next show. For sure. I would like it if I had loads of these kind of questions, because then I've got a whole bunch of shows that have like a focus on questions that you guys have. So that would be cool. Let's see. Mike at Music to Motion says, I noticed how your mouse was acting earlier as though the area you select is not represented exactly where you're trying to. I'm not sure what you're referring to, because as far as I was concerned, I was clicking on everything that I wanted. And it's not actually to do with my pointer. It's actually to do with the mouse itself. My mouse is ancient. If you saw my mouse, you would all laugh at me, because my mouse is about 20 years old. Well, maybe not quite 20 years old, but certainly not far off it. It's very, very ancient, and as such, the buttons are starting to die a little bit. So sometimes they don't 100% respond to what I want them to do. So it's more the fact that my mouse is aging a little bit, and that was just one of those moments where it showed its age for a second there. So it's not an issue in Studio One, it's an issue with my crappy Logitech mouse from about 2006. 2007 maybe. So yeah, it's about 15 or so years old. And I use it every single day, and have used it every single day for those 15 years or so. So it's ancient and has been well loved. Can you explain how to deal with dotted notes for those that may not know, considering we've covered compound time? That's a great question, Rich. Dotted notes. What is a dotted note? Well, when you put in music notation, when you put a dot after a note, you are adding half of that note's value to its already existing value. So if you have a note that is a quarter note, which in 4/4 lasts for one whole beat, and you were to put a dot after it, you would add half of its value. So you'd add an eighth note to that value, so that instead of being worth 2/8 notes, it's now worth 3. So it's what you would call a beat and a half note. But since we're in 6/8 at this point, a dotted note basically means that there is a note. If we're talking about dotted quarter notes, that there are 2 of those in a bar of 6/8, because a quarter note is worth 2/8 notes. You add another 1/8 note to it, so it is worth now 3, and so 2 3s are 6. So basically go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. So quite often when we're talking about blues ballads like this, a lot of people feel the pulse as a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and rather than a 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. So in that particular case, the pulse is a dotted quarter note, 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and so that's kind of where that kind of dotted thing comes from. Although you do get it in regular bars of 4/4, like if you hear this kind of a bass line. The long notes are dotted quarter notes in this tempo. 2 3 4 2 and 3 4 and 1 2 and 3 4 and 1 and 3 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So the long notes are 3/8 notes long. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So that's kind of where that is in 4/4, but in 6/8 it kind of is. It becomes like that kind of pulse in this kind of a blues ballad context. So I hope that helps answer that question. Vital says, little problem. I have no control B to transfer my stereo wave into mono track and cannot transfer MIDI track into wave. Control B definitely works. For example, if I was to take all of this here and do Control B, it now converts it into an audio track. There we go. If I turn that off there, see how those are now all muted and those are now stereo audio. Very quiet. So that converts that into audio. I can Control Z that for a minute. Will it let me? There we go. And so now that that's completely gone, what was the other part of your question? No way to transfer a stereo wave into mono. Okay, well, let's go and grab a stereo track. And we'll call this VO. And I'll go OK. And I'll turn that into stereo. And we'll turn those off. And we'll record this. Although it's going to be mono because I'm only using one input. I can do piano and me at the same time on the same track here. So I could solo this just to demonstrate and go, why are you not recording? Why are you not recording? That's very strange. Horribly out of tune singing, quite deliberate, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to turn that off and turn that off. So now we have mono audio. So you guys should be hearing my voice come out of the left and the piano come out of the right. So if I want to make this mono, change the channel congestion and then press Control B, and now that's mono. All right. So that should all work for you. Oh, you guys don't see the screen. Damn it. I did all of that without the bloody screen on. I'm an idiot. Okay, let's go. Let's go back over here. That was great, wasn't it? Okay, so I can Control Z all of what I was doing was I was muting my mic. That's ridiculous. Okay, so there's the stereo track. All right, so there's the stereo track. Want to make it mono. You can just change the channel condition by clicking the channel mode here and then do Control B, or you can right click and choose bounce selection. If you're not finding it in your recent items, it should be under audio. I think it is. Or is it under event? There it is. Bounce selection under event. All right. So event, bounce selection. That's where you'll find it, and you'll see that it's Control and B or Command and B if you're on a Mac. All right, so Vital. So you should be able to see that there. And so I'm going to Control B that now, and there it is. It's in mono. All right, there we go. I'm going to get rid of that because that sounded horrific. And I'm going to delete this track as well. Remove track. There we go. And now we're back to the kind of the nice bluesy ballad. But if I want to change, if I want to bounce this this guy into audio, I can right click, and then when I right click, I can go down to transform to audio. Preserve instrument state, render all channels, render inserts, remove instrument, and we'll just leave everything as it is. And now I have a whole bunch of impact channels, some of which are being used and some aren't. So there you go. That should work for you, hopefully. I always use the keyboard shortcut. I've tried everything. Yeah, the keyboard shortcut should work. If it isn't, you may want to check that you've got the right thing in focus. Like I did just then, I was trying to Control Z to undo things, not realizing that my mouse pointer still had OBS in focus. So it was all that was doing was just cutting my mic. Amika actually has some good advice there. He says, go to Studio One's keyboard shortcuts and double check that you haven't changed the shortcut, which you could have. It's entirely possible that you've just moved it and it's no longer Control B. Let's see. Cannot see it in the list when I right click on the track. Yeah, it's definitely there. Let's control. Yes, see, that's what happens when I press Control Z with the wrong thing in focus. It mutes my mic. Sorry, folks. What it might be, Vital, is that you're doing it from the event. If you're doing it from the event, you need to go down to Events and Bounce Selection. If you're doing it from the track, on an instrument track, there is no Control B. It's not here. You have to do Transform to Audio Track. Okay? So, yeah. That's what you need to do. You either do Transform to Audio from the track menu, if on an instrument track, or if you're doing it from the events, you right click the event and go to Event, Bounce Selection, Control B. Alright? So hopefully that answers that. Hopefully. Alright, so right click, Transform to Audio on the track, on the event. If you've done it a few times, it'll be in your recent list. If it's not, then you go to Event and Bounce Selection. Alright, folks, so hopefully that answers that question. And I think Rich had a question earlier. Think it would be useful to explain or give an overview on piano, mezzo, forte, fortissimo, etc., and all the in-betweens, perhaps. That would be a great subject for an entire show, for sure. We can cover that. And we can cover those kind of dynamic options and maybe actually look a little bit at the score editor and maybe look a little bit at Notion as well and kind of show a little bit of how those two programs work and look at maybe the Notion Studio One interoperability, which is awesome if you've never used it before. So sorry about that. Slightly confused. Little answers that question. For some reason, I was muting my mic in Skype. Not Skype. In OBS when I was doing Control Z. Because for some reason it was in focus. But yeah, so hopefully, Vital, you saw that. I know you just said, no, show it on the screen. Yes, I have shown it on the screen. I will do it one more time, just to be sure. Just be sure that you are seeing what I am seeing. So on an instrument track, you right-click that, and you choose Transform to Audio Track. That's the only way you can get an instrument into audio. Okay, from the track. All right. Other alternative is you can select the events, and then you right-click an event, and you go down to Event, and you choose Bounce Selection. Vital says, I don't see it anywhere. Well, it's definitely there. It is absolutely definitely there because I'm showing it to you right now. So you must be looking in the wrong context menu. You may be looking in instrument parts or musical functions or somewhere else, but it's in the event menu and it's Bounce Selection. But you have to have the event selected in order for this to come up. And on the track, you select the track by right-clicking and choose Transform to Audio if you want to do it from the track. All right, so that is definitely how you do it in Studio One. And it absolutely definitely works because I have demonstrated it. So, but yeah, I can select these events, I can right click and I can bounce the selection and it bounces it to a new track. Or I can right click the track, transform to audio. Let's undo that one. And there we go. It's now on a single track, stereo track. All right, but in this case, the only thing that it's bounced there is the kick drum rather than everything else. Okay, so hopefully that works out for you, Vital, because those options are definitely there. But as for Rich's suggestion to do something on dynamics, we will do that, definitely. We could even do that next Sunday, for sure. So if you guys are up for that, we will do that. Vital says, my version is in French. Show me the path where I could assign that key. You would need to go to Studio One, keyboard shortcuts, and then you search for it in here. So if I say bounce, these are my options. Bounce selection is by default mapped to Control B. If you do not see Control B there, then you have changed the assignment and you've probably changed it to something else. Or you can bounce it to a new track by doing Control Alt and B. But if you see nothing in there, then the assignment has not been set. Or if you see something else, then it's not Control B. You've just changed it to something else. All right, so, and also make sure your keyboard mapping is set to Studio One, unless you are sort of more familiar with another DAW, in which case use one of these. But if you're using the Studio One default mapping scheme, then bounce selection is Control B in keyboard shortcuts. All right, so whether it's in French, Spanish, Japanese, German, or Hindi, or whatever language pack you're using with Studio One, all the options are all in the same place. Doesn't matter what language it's in. I know this because I work for Presonus in technical support, and sometimes I have to remote into other people's computers to help resolve an issue. And I have remoted into Studio One in German. I have remoted into Studio One in Japanese. And even though I can't read the Japanese, I can read a little bit of the German, but even though I can't read the Japanese, I know that everything is where it should be in English anyway. So I just know where the options are. Because they're going to be the same, whatever language they're in. They'll be in the same location. Meek says, I have a new Persona slogan for Studio One. It's too good for just the young, Studio One for everyone. Okay, that's interesting. Alright, so I hope that helps everybody. If you got any other questions, drop me an email. And I apologize that I kept on muting my mic. I don't know why that was happening. That's weird. But, yeah, when I have Studio One in focus and I Control Z, there we go. It must have been just a focus thing with OBS. I'll need to be a little bit more careful about that going forward. But thank you very much, everybody, for coming to tonight's show. Hopefully, for those of you watching the replay, hopefully you found the section on blues and compound time helpful, and how to quantize if you're going to be doing any quantizing, how to do that, and have the correct values set and all of that. So hopefully that was helpful to you. And otherwise, I will see you on Wednesday over on Jonny Gibe's channel, the Home Studio Trainer, for Songwriting Simplified. And I'll see you then. Good night.